Hi everyone, there is me Juice from Tuts, and in this video we'll create this cool 2D endless runner game or cube runner game. So I call this game cube runner game because we have a player that is actually a cube, and we will create this awesome cube runner 2D game. So when we go here in the gameplay, we see that we have there a player that is one simple cube, and of course, as you can see, we need to avoid these obstacles here, these shooters and so on and so forth. So you see how smooth this game is. I'm very enjoying it by playing this game. So we will have in this game several scripts. So everything that you see here you will get with the link in the description. Everything that you see will have there more coding than designing tips and tricks, so stay tuned for that. I will try to explain everything that I cover here in this programming. Everything I think will be understandable, and when we for example die, so I will now deliberately die here, we see that our character being destroyed, and when we click the space button we restart our game, and that will be this game in this tutorial. So I hope you like the game. I hope it will be interesting to make this kind of game, to program every behavior that we need here for this gameplay. And guys, I will now cut the video and start creating this awesome game from scratch.
Hello guys, it's Irina from the future here. Nope, it's just Irina from AwesomeToys.com. As you can see here, I'm talking through a hologram that my team made. On our academy, we made a course about how to make a hologram and how to make a hologram game. So enroll in our academy to get a course on how to make a hologram game and other courses as well. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye, see you in the future.
Hi everyone, there is me Juice from Tuts, and as you know from the preview of the game, we'll create this game from scratch, and this is our cool cube runner game. So this is that game. When we go here in the resources, we see that we have a bunch of resources that we will use in this gameplay. So we have a bullet canvas character, we have these panels that will be actually objects that will be spawned from our spawner, of course, saw and turtle and so on and so forth. So that was that for our resources. When we go here in the sprites, and all of that of course you will get with the link in the description, these resources and these sprites. Otherwise you will be struggling with that. Okay, we have also there this blue panel, pink panel, that is simply some rectangles and bunch of game object that is simply colorful. We have this saw, we have a background, and first of all we will import this background in our scene. So when we import that background, we have there simply sprite renderer, and we will of course reset the transform, and I will a little bit resize this in the dimensions in order to this background cover all of our area of our camera here. So area of our camera is these white lines here, and we will cover all of this with our background. When we go in the game, we see that our background actually have this full HD resolution. This is very cool for our gameplay, and we will play this game with this background here. Also we have this menu background, but in this game we will not create a main menu scene, and for that we do not need this main menu background. We need actually just this space background that we have just imported here in the scene. And yeah, that is that. So now other game objects that we need to import here are from resources. So we will import our character. So when I drag and drop our character in the scene, we see that actually our character is one simple quad here that have rose color, and that is very cute if I can say like that. Okay, we will of course remove this missing script like always we do. Our character have their simple box collider and the rigid body 2D, which is dynamic. We have a mass on one, we have a gravity scale that affect our player, and that is so far good. Also one more game object that we need to import here, I think, is a panel. So yeah, this is that panel. So I will import just here this panel on some bottom of our game. So when I go here in the game, we'll see this, and yeah, I think this is very fine. So our panel is is actually origin prefab. So if we want to go in the options of our panel, we actually need to go in that prefab. So I will remove this missing script, and also we will copy and paste this panel. So one more time, in order to we will have two panels by default. Whenever we play our game, we will snap that panels right here, and yeah, we will have just these two panels as I said when we start our game. So I will drag down these panels just in order to this can be on the bottom, our space, and this is actually our background. So excuse me, we'll rename this to our background. Our character, we import our character, and yeah, I think that is so far good. So now guys, we need to program all of this. So you know from the preview of the game, we will spawn our game objects. We will spawn our saw, our turtle, we'll spawn our panel with hole and wall, panel with hole, panel with two saws, so on and so forth. We will all of that spawn from our spawner, and actually our spawner will be event system. So our spawner doesn't have to be event system, but we will make that our spawner will be event system. So when we, for example, drag in our scene this canvas, so not in the scene but here in the just in the hierarchy, we see that this is our canvas. When we zoom out a little and we see how huge our canvas is, and we do not want this, we will actually drag and drop our main camera here in the render camera, and for that our huge background is gone. Now we have full functional canvas, because we in that canvas attach our main camera in order to our canvas be on the area of our main camera. And yeah, and along with this canvas go event system. So when we go here, when we go into the UI, we see that we have their event system, and we have here a bunch of options for the standalone input module. So we do not want to touch this, except we will create a spawner and we will attach the spawner on this event system. So I will go simply here now in our scripts, and as I said, now it is time to code everything out. So first script that we will create here, so I'll go here, create new C# script, will be our spawner, because this is going to be the longest script and a little bit hard to explain, but I will try as better as I can to explain this script, to explain this coding. But anyway, I am sure that you will understand everything, and other scripts will be much more easier than this spawner. So because of that, we will pass this hard part first, and then we will cover these other scripts that will be very easier to explain and code. So now I will simply open it up in our Visual Studio and start coding this spawner script. And once we are in our script, we will start this coding like always with creating a couple of variables. So first variable will be public and then camera. So this is going to be the reference of our main camera, and we'll simply call this variable main camera like this. Second variable will be actually the reference for our character, and because we do not have this character script yet created, we will leave this as an empty. So I will not create this variable, but actually there will be a reference for our character. But anyway, we'll now for now cut this and move on with our variables. So next variable will be serialized field, and then private, and then actually the data type will be float, yeah, and this will be camera speed. So I will simply name this variable camera speed, and this will have the default value of 5f. And if you don't know what this serialized field is, so this is simply a private variable that will be visible in the inspector panel. So I talk about these serialized field variables in my other tutorials, in my before tutorials. If you want to check out more of that, you actually need to go in my previous games also here on Awesome Tuts and check that out. And okay guys, now third variable will be public panel. So public panel, and because of that we do not have yet this panel script, we will create here game object. So this is going to be a bunch of game objects or bunch of our panels, and because of that we do not have, as I said, our panel script. We will use instead of that this game object, but actually this will be the reference for our panels in our game. So panel with two saw, panel with I don't know, with the whole regular panel, and so on and so forth. So actually game objects that will be spawned here in our gameplay. Okay, as I said, first one will be this regular panel, second one will be panel with saw, so we'll simply name this variable panel with saw, and third variable will be panel width to so panel width to so, and third variable will be panel width whole. So I know that this is a little bit boring to watch, but we need to create these variables. Panel width total will be now, so panel width total, and last one panel will be panel width, so panel width whole and wall. So this is going to be a panel width whole and wall. And yeah, this is going to be our panel. So you see how much game object that needs to be spawned we will have there, just like a panel. So every I think of this will have separate and particular script. But anyway, let's move on with creating our variables. So now we will create actually a array of our panels. So we'll go here and create private game object, and we'll create array of these panels. So we will actually first of all call this variable panels, and then we'll go and pass equal new game object, and again these square brackets, and 5 like a index of that array. So if you want to know more about arrays, simply check out our C# section also here on Awesome Tuts in the C# tutorials, and you will understand these arrays better. Okay, now moving on, now we are going to create one more private variable that is going to be system, no like this, but with the capital S dot system dot random. So this is going to be system dot random, that type of our variable, and then we are going to pass random, so random name of this variable, which is going to be stored in our new, and then system, and then random like this. So actually this system dot random will simply return to us random number or some random, I don't know, some, for example, random game object. This can return to us, but for now we will use this random variable by returning to us some number, so random number. Okay, you will see that later on, but new variable will be private integer and then shift. So your Windows license will expire soon. I know that, and I will never activate my Windows. Okay, I will close this and moving on. And now we actually need to finish up this shift variable, and it's going to be 0. And moving on, last variable will be in this script, so private vector 3, and this is going to be position, so we'll simply name this pose. This is going to be equal to new vector 3, so vector 3, and in the parentheses we'll pass 2 multiplied with 21f, comma, we will pass here minus, so where is the minus? There it is, minus 4.2f, it is f, yeah, it is actually 4.26, so excuse me about this, I made a mistake. 20, so 4.26, and then this is going to be subtracted with one number, and that number will be 0, and then 0, 3, 1. So this is some crazy number, but I found these variable values as a perfect for these positions and so on and so forth. So simply you will copy and paste all of this, and then you will have everything. So we need to remove this comma, because we'll have in this vector 3 just 2 parameters for the x-axis, and that is this one, and for the y-axis that is this one. Okay, that is that for our position. Now we definitely and finally needs to go here in the start game, so no in the start method but in the start game method. So we will simply rename this method to be start game, and we will of course delete this commenting here. And then in this start game method we are going to open this for loop, and if you'd want to know more about loops, check out our C# section, where you can find everything about loops, arrays, so on and so forth, this stuff from the C#. But for now I will not explain what does this loops means. We will simply use our for loop, and then we are going to create one new integer variable I, which is going to have this 0 by default variable value. And then if this is I is less than of our panels, so panels.length, so this is actually the length of our array of our panels. If this is true, we are going to increase this by 1. So no by 1, but we will increase this by I. So I made a mistake. There is a I variable that we have just created in this loop, and that is that for our for loop. And if this is true, we are going to destroy. So we are going to open these parentheses and destroy all of our panels. So when we take our panels array and when we open these square brackets we'll pass I, that means destroy everything that we have in that array when we pass I in these square brackets, and then dot game object, because these are game objects and we'll destroy everything of that. Okay, what does this mean? So simply we create here a for loop. We check if in our for loop if our I and I is 0, if our I is less than of panels.length, we are going to increase our I variable by 1. And you will see that later on in action. And now we'll go here and we'll actually create a new function which is going to be simply private and then game object, and then this is going to be creating a panel. So create panel, and as I said, this will spawn and create our panels. And first thing that we need to have in this function will be our game object panel. So like this, we'll simply name this game object panel. This is going to be new game object. So we cannot, I think, add here a game object like this. So I will try to add like this. And yeah, we have some error here. So actually we need to change here that this G comes by capital G, not small g. So don't make a mistake like I do here. So we have some error, and that is for returning this game object. This will be later on gone. Okay, now moving on, now we are going to create also one double variable, and that double variable will be random numbers. So we'll simply pass here random num, and then this is going to be equal by random. So random from our variables dot next double. So where is the next double? There it is, and you see this will simply return to us some random number. And now we'll open here a bunch of if statements, so we'll see that later on. And in that if statement we will check if our random number, so random number is less than of, and I need to see where is that number. So actually there is less equal of, and then less equal of 0.10. So 0.10, if our random number is less than or equal to this number right here, we will do the next, and we'll actually take our panel. So where is our, there is our panel, and then we'll store that. So and then use our instantiate function, and we will instantiate something, and actually we need to instantiate our panel with whole like this. So panel with whole, and then where we want to instantiate that, we want to instantiate that on the position. So this is the position that we have created in the variables, that variable, and that is that for the position. And for the rotation, I think we do not want any rotation for this panel with whole, and we'll pass here panel with whole. So panel with whole dot transform dot rotation, so simple as that, and we'll have no rotation for this game object. Okay, now I will take this if statement, copy and paste this, and simply paste this one more time here. And now if our random number is greater than of our 0.10, so we'll simply pass here greater than of 0.10, and we need to use AND operator. So where is the AND operator? There it is. There it is, AND operator. So shift and 7. So if our random number is greater than of 0.10, and if our random number is less than or equal to, so we need to pass that random number is less than or equal to, and then 0.25. I think there is that variable, 0.25. we will do the next. So we'll change this panel to be now panel with hole and wall. So there will be panel with hole and wall instead of just a panel with a hole. So panel with hole and wall on the same position and on the rotation for this same game object, panel with hole and wall, which simply means we will not have any rotation for that game object. So like we do here for our panel with a hole. So now we will copy and paste this one more time, and then for now for this variable values we will use this 0.25. First of all, so this will be first variable here, and just let me see where is the second variable. There is now 0.50. So 0.50 like this, and then if this is true, we're going to execute or actually instantiate our panel with turtle. So panel with turtle is actually panel with shooter. So that is our game object that can shoot our bullets to us. and that is our turtle. And also like for our second two statements will go, so yeah, there is panel with turtle. And also for that game object, we will not have any rotation. We want to instantiate that on the current position, on the position that we have specified above, right above in the variables, and we want to execute this. So I made a mistake, there is no panel with the turtle, so I made a mistake, sorry about that guys. There is actually panel with hole and wall. So yeah, panel with hole and wall. So we are humans, we make sometimes mistakes, but for the third statement there is panel with turtle. So don't judge me about this. When we have a lot of coding, this is usual mistakes. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. So now we'll one more time paste this if statement, and now instead of this panel with turtle we'll use a panel with so, but just to we need to remove or to change this variable value. So first variable value will actually be 0.50, and then second variable will be 0.75. So we'll simply use here instead of 25, 75, and as I said, there will be instead of turtle there will be panel with so panel with so I will one more time pass this. For what we want to instantiate panel with so on the position that we have specified in the variables, and we do not want any rotation for that instantiated game object. And yeah, I think this was, but it's not the last if statement, because we need to spawn one more game object, and that game object will be spawned if our random number, so we will delete this second statement here, if our random number is greater of 0.75. yeah, I think, yeah, that is that variable value. And we want to instantiate panel with two so's, so we'll pass here panel with two so, and also here panel with two so. And yeah, we definitely finish up this create panel function. So I will check out that everything is okay. So we created here game object panel, and then we created random number that will return to us simply random number. And actually we check here if that random number, for example, show to us or return to us some greater, or excuse me, less variable of this 0.10. this will be instantiated. If this random number return to us greater value than 0.10 and less value than 0.15, this will be instantiated, and so on and so forth, like for the end. And on the same end we will actually return to us, so we'll simply pass here return and then panel. Why? Well, because we created here private game object create panel function, and because we use this as a data type of the function, we need to return also that game object. If there, for example, is a float or integer, we'll need it in that case to return that integer. But for now we use there a game object, and we definitely need to return that game object on the end of this function. And that was the function for our creating and spawning our panels. So now we'll create second function, and now second function will be void and then set panels. So we'll simply name this method set panels like this. We'll open the curly brackets and we are good to go. So now in this function we'll again open this for loop, and in this for loop we'll create integer I variable, which is going to be 0 by default. We'll check if this I variable is less than of our panels, so panels with the s on the end dot length. So this is simply the length and of our panels array. And then we'll add one more time comma plus 1. So no 1, I again make same mistake, so there is an I. We'll open curly brackets and we are good to go also with this function. So now if this is true, actually we will, so now I made a mistake here, there is no comma, there is of course a semicolon. And then if this in for loop is true, we are going to do the next. We are going to pass our panels array that we have created, and then I in the parentheses in these square brackets, and we are going to store that in our create panel. So I made definitely some mistakes. So create panel function, and we'll store that panels all of our panels in this create panel function that will simply instantiate and spawn to us random panels. Okay, that will happen if this is true, and also we want to change the position that we have created. So this is pose.x is equal to plus, so no, just equal, excuse me, there will be plus equal to 21f by default. So that is for setting up our panels. And then we are going to create a new function. So now new function will simply be private void check panels. So we'll simply name this method check panels, and in this check panels method we are going to one more time create this double random number. So we'll simply copy and paste this right here to the check panel method, and then we are going to now make a effect for moving or following our camera. So actually in one hand this is a spawner script, but in other hand this script actually will have a behavior of following our camera. So we're also making this script that our camera can follow our player. So we'll simply go here and create var distance variable, and we will store that in our main camera. So I will take our main camera. So I hope that I take our main camera somehow like this. Yeah, I definitely make a mistake. So, or no, I didn't make a mistake, excuse me. So there is a main camera dot transform dot position. This is the current position of our main camera. This is going to be subtracted with our panels array, and in this square brackets we'll pass a shift variable that is by default 0, and then dot transform dot position because it's going to be the current position of our panels. And then we do not want to our camera follow our player on the y-axis, so we will leave here distance dot on the y-axis with the 0. And then we are moving on, and we are going to open this one if statement, and in that if statement we are going to pass if our distance, so distance dot square magnitude. So when we point with our mouse on this square magnitude, this is returns the square length of this vector. So now I think this is a little clear to you. So, and then in that function, so where is our square magnitude? There it is. We do not have any parentheses, excuse me. We want to check if our distance of square magnitude is greater than of 50 point, so no point, but multiply with 50 like this. So if this variable value is greater than 50, multiply with the 50, and that is I think 2000s and 500s. If this is true, we are going to do the next. We are going to destroy all of our panels. So we will use our destroy function and then panels, and then in this square brackets shift will be, so shift, we will actually destroy all of these, and then dot game object. And moving on, in this if statement we want to now create new panels, so we'll pass here panels again. In these square brackets will be shift, and then this is going to be equal to create panels method that we have just coded above. And then we are going to change our position on the x-axis because now we are moving forward. So now we will take our position dot x and we'll store that in the, so now just equal, there will be plus equals 21f like previous case. So we will actually now create the panels on the, when our camera follow our player, we want to update our spawner, we want to update our panels, our spawner will actually needs to spawn now game objects in further position, and for that we changing that position. So now we are moving forward, and for that our spawner also needs to spawn our game objects forward where we are with our character, and for that we changing here a position. And then on the end will be plus plus then shift. This will simply increase our shift variable by 1. And then last if statement, in this if statement actually will be if our shift, so if our shift variable is equal to panels dot length. So how many panels we have in this arrays, this is that length. So when we pass here some array dot length, this means all of these game objects that are in our panels array will take this length right here. So if this is true, we'll pass that shift is now 0. like this. And I think I explained what does this check panel means here. So actually we'll create a following camera effect in this function. And if this is true, we are going to update our spawner as I said. So now our spawner will spawn our game objects now a little bit further in the x-axis, because we change here a position on the x-axis. So guys, that was that for our check panel method. Now we are going down below, and now we are going to open our update method. So this is not last method, or I think, yeah, this will be the last method in our so no, just that update. We will create a regular update, man. I don't know why there is giving me simply just a fixed update and late update, but anyway, we'll create a new update. Yeah, that's because we already have there an update method, and I forgot that we didn't delete this method. So we will delete this, and now on the end we'll create our cute update method. And in that now method we are going to create if our character, that's our variable for our character that we didn't create yet. But now I will go above and create finally that method. So we'll create simply public game object, which is going to be our character. So we'll simply name this variable character. And then, as we said, we are going to check if we have our character in this game. So we'll check here if our character is not equal to null, meaning if we have a character in the scene, what we will do, we will make that our camera actually follow our player, but we will make that effect or that function later on. And first of all, we'll now create again var distance. So this is that variable here. So I will simply copy and paste this. So var distance, this is going to be equal by main camera.transform.position, and then there will be, instead of minus panels and then shift, we're going to subtract this with the character. So character.transform.position. So actually the distance between our main camera, our distance will be actually the subtracting our main camera current position and our character current position that we have just do here. And then we do not want any way to our camera follow our player on the y-axis, so we'll simply pass here again 0, and then we are going to one more time copy and paste this if statement. So I will simply copy this if statement right here and paste it down below right here. If our distance dot square magnitude is actually greater than, but now this time will be 20 multiplied with 20, and we will actually cover this with the parentheses one more time, these variable values. And yeah, if now this if statement is true, what we are going to do, we are going to destroy our character. So we'll simply go down below and pass destroy, and then our character. So there is our character.game object like this, and we'll destroy our character if this is true. And then we will go down of our if statement of this distance.square magnitude if statement and check and actually pass that we want to check our panels method that we have created. We will delete one curly brackets because I think we have some errors here, and actually we need to add here curly brackets. So we need to add here 2 curly brackets, excuse me, in order to this error gone. Okay, that is so far for the update method, and this is when we point, this is if character is not equal to null, but now we will pass else. So what is the else? That now means if we doesn't have character, if we die with our character. So if we die with our character, we are going to open one new if statement, and then pass here if input dot get key down. So get key down, and we will pass here key code. So where is the key code dot space? So actually if we click the space, we want to reload our game, because if we don't have a player and we click the space button, we will restart our game. So we'll go above here and use we'll go here in the usings and then use our Unity Engine.scene management, and going back here, so now here, and if we click our space button, we are going to pass here scene manager dot load scene, and then again in the parentheses scene manager dot get active scene, so get active scene parentheses and then dot build index, and this line of code will simply reload our game whenever we click space button. But if we also click the space button, we do not want to simply reload our game. We want to again start our game, and actually we want to again spawn everything and start our game. So we'll simply call our start game method that we have coded on the beginning of this coding right here. But when we go back here in the start game method, now we need to go here, and below this for loop we need to pass set panels, because when we start our game we want, except of this loop, to set also our panels. And also last thing that we need to do here is creating our start method. So start method that will be called on the beginning of this game. So whenever we start our game, start method first will be called, and then others functions, and for that we'll pass here also set panels method in order to all of this can work. So now guys, we created here a spawner script. I think everything is very clear and understandable to you. So now I will save this and go back to our Unity engine. And we have some error here, of course. So when we go and double click on that error, we see that the error here is new system random. And yeah, we actually need to pass here a parenthesis in order this error can go on, because this random actually is a function, and every function we need to end up with this parenthesis, and that was the error. So I will once again save this and go back to the Unity. And now if you remember, I said to you that we want to attach this script on our event system. So when we click on the event system and when we go here in the add component, we will search for our spawner script and attach that script on our event system. And then we have there a bunch of variables that we need to fill up, because everything here is empty. So main camera is our pretty main camera from the hierarchy. Character is our character that we have also imported this on the beginning of this tutorial. Camera speed is 5. Panel, and then now we need to go here in our resources. So now I will once again take our event system, and now panel, so regular panel is this panel right here, so we'll drag and drop that right to this slot. Panel with the soul, we will search for that panel. So there is panel with the soul, panel with 2 soul. So panel with 2 souls is right here, and then panel with hole, second one panel with the turtle, and last one will be panel with hole and wall. So everything we need to attach this on this spawner script in order to everything can work, guys. So now guys, when we go here and play our game, so now when we go here in the scene, we see that everything actually being spawned here. So we see that this panel with 2 souls being spawned, there is a panel with 1 soul, and other all panels that we have there is also being spawned here. But now guys, we see that our character doesn't move, and that is we actually don't have any character script. So we'll now go here back to our assets and then to our scripts, and we'll create our character script. So I'll simply go here and create character script and open it up in our Visual Studio, of course. And in this character script we will have 3 variables, and these are our 3 variables. So we have there a public float speed variable. So you can imagine this is the speed of our character that is put to be 5f by default. The same for our jump force, and then rigid body, that is the rigid body of our player. Okay, now we are going to for now delete this start method. So now just the start method will delete also this update method, and we'll now create one new method which is going to be void. So no void, excuse me, there will be boolean method, so private bool, and then check ground. So we'll pass here check ground method like this. We'll open these parentheses, and there will be, if you can, like you can imagine, check if we touch our ground. So now we are going to create one collider 2D array. So array actually of collider 2D, and then we are going to name this array colliders like this. and we'll store that in our physics. So physics 2D, and there will be overlap circle. So where is the overlapping circle? So overlap circle, all we need to pass here. So excuse me, not just overlap circle, but we need to all overlap circle to choose that function. And in the parentheses we will pass two arguments. So first of all we'll pass transform.position, and then second argument will be 0.5f like this. And actually, what does this mean? So actually we created here an array of colliders and then store that in overlap circle all. So we see that this takes two parameters. First one is vector2, second is float radius. So for first one we use our current position of our character, and second one is actually float radius. This is 0.5, so radius of our collider like this. And then if this is true, so now we are moving on with this. So we are going to create actually one if statement and then check if our colliders dot length is greater of 1. So what will happen if this is greater of 1? So I will open this curly brackets. We will simply return true, because we are in boolean function, and we will simply return true. But if this is not true, we are going to use else. So if this is not true, we are going to simply return false. And you'll see later why we creating this function like this and this if statement also like this. You will see that later. But actually, if we have more than one colliders here, we'll simply return true. If we doesn't, we'll simply return false. And that's whole philosophy about this check ground function. Okay, now we are moving on with this. Now we are going to freeze our Z rotation. So we'll simply create here voice freeze rotation. So like this, freeze Z rotation, open this parentheses and open curly brackets. And now we are going to use our body. So our body dot constraints actually parameter, and when we point with our mouse, this is controlled with degrees of freedom are allowed for the simulation of this rigid body. So actually we can manipulate with the rotation position with these constraints. So we'll actually store that in our rigid body constraints 2D like this, and then use our freeze rotation, and we are done with that. So we'll freeze our rotation whenever we call this method. And now we will simply pass here public void freeze rotation. So second method will be our jumping method. We'll create here void jump, and you can imagine we will here set up our jumping behavior for our character. So we'll simply go here, pass my body, adding a force. So you can imagine we will add a force on the y-axis because we are now jumping. So add a force, and then we will pass here transform.app, which is going to be multiplied with 2. So no 2, but jumping a force, jump a force variable that we have prepared for this behavior, jump force. And then for the force mode 2D, so we'll pass here force mode 2D, we'll use an impulse. So that is ignoring our mass, and that is for our jumping method. So now we will create a new method which is going to be attraction. So actually when we click down arrow on our keyboard, we will actually make that we falling down quicker than before. So actually when we are in the air, and when we release every R key on the keyboard, our gravity actually will pull us to the ground. But when we click, also when we are in the air, and when we click on the down arrow on our keyboard, we will fall down quicker than gravity can pull us. So that is this method. That method is for that behavior. And I think you understand what I'm talking about here. So we'll again use our mybody dot adding a force. So we'll again add a force, but now down. And then we will use here transform-transform.up, because now we are moving on to the ground. And then this is going to be multiplied with our jumping force, so the same force. And then for the force mode, so yeah, there is force mode 2D, we will again use our impulse, that simply ignore our mass in that case. Okay, that was for the attraction method. Now we are going to create one new method which is going to be for running. So run our character, And then in that method we are going to create one new vector3 variable, which is going to be direction, like we do in our spawner. So direction, and this is going to be stored in our transform.right right here, and then transform.position, which is the current position of our player, will be actually stored in our vector3. So no integer, just a vector3 move towards method, and we see that this takes 3 arguments. So first argument will be transform.position, so transform.position, which is the current position of our cute player. Second argument, will be again transform.position, but now we are going to increase this with our distance, so no distance but direction actually, so there will be increased by direction. And for the last parameter we are going to add a speed, and we are going to multiply that with our time.delta time, so we'll simply multiply that with this variable. In order to do this, time.delta time will make our variable speed smoother than before. Okay, that was that for our running methods. This will simply run our player, and then in the update method. So now it comes the time that we need to create update method, and in the update method we are going to check. So if our input.getKey, so there is an input, get key down. So where is the get key down, man? So I made sometimes a mistake here in the spelling. And actually if we click a space button, so we'll pass here key code space, we are going to jump. So we're going to open these curly brackets and we are going to jump. We are simply going to pass our, so no jump force, man, but we pass our jumping method that we have coded right above. Okay, that was if we click the space button, and then we are going to open one new if statement, which is going to be if input.getKey down again, so get key down, and in the parentheses by hard coding we will pass down. So actually there is meant on the down arrow on the keyboard. So if we click the down arrow on the keyboard, we are going to pass our attraction or execute our attraction method that will simply pull us to the ground quicker than gravity. So yeah, I think that is that. And also in the update method by default we'll call our run method, because our player will always be in this running mode. Okay, that was that, but also we need actually to change here an if statement. We will pass here and operators, and that means now if we click the space button and if our check ground is true, so if our check ground like this is true, we are going to execute piece of code down here. So actually if we click the space button and if we are on the ground, otherwise this will not work. So we do not want to jump if we are on the air, we want to jump just if we are on the ground and if we click the space button, just in that case we can jump. And that was that for our character script. So now I will save this and go back to the Unity. And definitely we need to attach this character script on our character game object, and that was that. So actually we have there 3 variables, and we see that we have also there a my body, that's for the rigid body 2D. So we'll simply click here and drag and drop this rigid body right to this empty slot, and also we are done with that. So we are ready to test this out, and I will simply go here and play our game. And we have again some error here, so I will go here in the console and we see that input k name down is unknown. So when we double click on this, yeah, we see that we pass here by hard coding this down, but actually we need to go here and pass that this down is actually key code and then down arrow on our keyboard. So now I think everything will be better when we go back to the Unity when we again test this out. And now our character is moving, and also we can jump by clicking on the space button, and we prove that also this script works, guys. Everything works. Now we can move on with our development of this game. But we notice that our camera actually doesn't follow our player. So when we go back to our Visual Studio and we go here to the spawner, we just set up for our main camera that we want our main camera actually follow our player. We just set up that behavior, but we didn't code that actually our camera needs to move towards to our player and finally program that behavior. So we'll go here behind or below our check panel, check panel method, and we'll create one new method which is going to be for moving our camera. So we'll pass here simply move camera, open these curly brackets, and now we are going to definitely create that behavior. So in this function we are going to pass our vector3 direction. So no direction, excuse me, there will be a distance, so excuse me about this distance, and then main camera, and then direction will be this variable here. So direction will be equal to transform dot right, and is simply right direction, because our player will always go in the right direction, and for that our camera will always follow our player on the right direction. And that was that for that line of code. Now we are again going to use our main camera, so main camera, and then dot transform dot position, and now this time this will be plus equal to, so this will be increased with the vector3 dot, so no comma but man, dot move towards. So move towards, man, spelling problems again. And in the parentheses for the vector3 current position we are going to add the current position, and then we are going to, for the second parameter which is the target, so we are going to use our transform dot position and then plus direction, which is the right direction that we have provided right above. And then for the last parameter we are going to use our camera speed, so camera speed variable value, that is the float variable, which will be actually increased. So where is that code here? Yeah, by time dot delta time. So excuse me, I'm sometimes wrote the code right here near to me, and for that I sometimes finding and searching for some piece of codes here. And yeah, that was that for our moving our camera. So then if we have a character in our game, first thing that we want to do is to make that our camera follow our player, and everything will be better performance than previous. So now we will save this, go back here, and one more time check also, test also this behavior out. So now you see that our camera actually follow our player, we have everything, we can jump with our player. So you see that actually our panels being spawned here, we actually go in some hole of this. And yeah, we'll then later on create a dying effect, but we see that actually our game is for now very successful. So everything works, our camera following work, our character movement work, our spawner work, and we need to move on with this game. So now we will import one new thing here in our scene. So we'll go here in the resources and we'll import our death wall. So as I said, we'll create that. So you see that actually our death wall is nothing but this box collider 2D. So that wall, and this death wall actually will detect if we fall down off in our scene, like we fall down just now in this last testing. So just now when we actually go down in our hole, we will detect the collision between that wall and our player, and in that case we will make that we died. And now in order to this death wall always follow our player, we will go here in the scripts and create also the script for our death wall. So we'll choose a new C# script and create that wall script. So we'll simply name this script that wall script and open it up in Studio. And in this script we will have just one variable, and that variable will be serialized field and then private float speed. So this is going to be the speed of our death wall movement. So speed f like this, and that was that. So first actually function here in this script will be on collision or on trigger enter 2D. That will detect the collision between our character and our death wall, of course. So we'll pass here on trigger, so on trigger enter 2D, and then if in this function we are going to call our character, so our character script, and now we are going to use our character. So we'll simply name this instance just like our character, and we are going to pass here collider, so no collision but collider. So where is the, yeah, so actually there is a collision, excuse me, there will be collision dot get component, and in these angular brackets will be character script, because we take the reference from our character in order to we now can use this character as a game object, and we can manipulate with that. So our error gone, and now we'll simply check in our if statement. So if and then character is not equal to null. So if our character is not equal to null, we are going to destroy our character. So we'll simply pass here in our destroy function our character dot game object, and we'll destroy our character actually if we touch with our character our death wall. So actually this is the function for the detecting the collision, and we are going to we actually create here a character. So that is our character. We recognize our character with this character script, and we check if we have in our script, in our scene, excuse me, our character, and if that character go in the collision with this death wall, our character will be destroyed, because we falling down, we touch our death wall, and we died with our character. So that is whole philosophy behind this function. So last function will be our update function. So we're simply going to create that update function, and in this function we are going to create vector 3 distance. So distance like this is going to be equal to transform dot right direction in the world space, and then this is going to be, so transform dot position, we are again using current position of our death wall. This is going to be stored in our vector 3 move towards. So no like this, but dot move towards, so I spot the mistake, move towards, and then first parameter will be transform dot position, which is the current position. Second will be transform dot position, so plus direction that we have just created, or distance, excuse me, that we have just created. And then so we'll simply rename this, so there is actually direction. So excuse me, I passed there a distance, I got confused, there is direction, just in order to not confuse you with that. And last parameter will be our speed multiplied, you can imagine, with time dot delta time. So pass here time dot delta time, and we are good to go also with this death wall. So we'll save this, go back to the Unity, and now before every testing we'll create all of the rest scripts that we need to create for our SOW, for our turtle, for our other game object. That's actually the shortest script in this tutorial. So I'll go here one more time, create no shader but C# script, and this is going to be SOW script for our SOWs right in our spawn game object. So we'll open also this in our studio, and once we are in our SOW script we are going to delete this start method. We are going to create two variables in this script. So first one is float, and then speed, so speed of our SOW, or actually speed of rotating this will be, so we will not make that this SOW can move on right or left, we'll simply make that this SOW needs to rotate, and you will see that later. So speed of rotating will be 20f by default. Second variable will be again float and then pose, so pose is going to be equal to 0 by default. And now we're going to again detect the collision between our player, our character, and this SOW. And in that case, of course, our character will also die, like in the case for our death wall. So we'll simply paste this code that we had here in our death wall script, and we'll simply copy and paste, because this is exactly the same code right here. Because when now our character go in the collision with our SOW, our character will be destroyed, and that's whole philosophy about this. So in the update method we're going to create vector 3, so we'll simply name this vec variable, and then this is going to be equal to new vector 3, so again new vector 3, and then 0 for the x, 0 for the y. We are going to rotate our actually SOW in the z-axis like this. Moving on, now we are going to increase this pose variable by the speed that we have just created, and then transform dot, but now instead of position we are going to pass rotation, and then this is going to be stored in the criterion dot Euler. So like this Euler there will be, and in the parentheses there will be simply vec variable that we have created. So this, when we point with our mouse, this returns a rotation that rotates z degrees around the z-axis, and we just prepare that z degree here in this vector 3 variable by passing here position on the z-axis and ignoring x and the y-axis. So that was that also for our solve script. Now second script that we need to create is turtle script. So we'll go here and simply create new C# script, which is going to be turtle. And turtle is actually our shooter. So you can add here, instead of turtle, you can add here shooter in order to not confuse yourself. So I add a turtle anyway, you get the point. This is the shooter that will simply instantiate our bullets in the scene, and open it up also this in the studio, and we are good to go. So in this turtle script we will have two variables. So first one is actually private game object, and this is going to be the bullet that will be instantiated from our turtle. And second variable will be float, so private float, and then a rate, which is going to be 2f by default, like this. And also in this script we will not have an update method instead of the start method. So in the start method we are going to pass here bullet is equal to, so is equal to, and then resources. So where is the, there is resources, and then dot, we are going to load, so load, and then parentheses, so no parentheses, excuse me, there is load with these angular brackets, and we'll pass here actually a bullet script, but we do not have yet this bullet script. But anyway, we'll comment out this code and we'll later on create this line of code. So first of all I will code here, so bullet, and then there will be bullet, so bullet by hard coding in the parentheses, like this, like just as we have in our Unity editor, there will be bullet. But as I said, because we do not have yet created this bullet script, we will leave this as comment code right here. Okay, moving on, now we are going to create a position for our turtle here, so position where our turtle actually needs to go, and our turtle will go in the left side, I think. So this is going to be equal to transform.position, like this, and then we are going to use our position on the x-axis and then store that in the, so no store that, but we'll subtract that, so minus equal to 1.4f, and then we'll use again this position, but this time on the y-axis, and this time we'll again subtract this. So where is, subtracting this with the 0.055, for example. This is, we found like a perfect variable value for this subtracting on the y-axis, and that is that. Okay, actually then we are going to instantiate our bullet, but because we do not have yet this bullet, we are going to pass here game object like this, and then bullet. We'll call this game object like bullet, and then we are going to instantiate that bullet right here. So we'll pass here bullet, and then we want to instantiate bullet. Where we want to instantiate that bullet, we want to instantiate that on the position that we have specified right here. So this is on the x-axis, subtract on the turtle with the 1.4, and on the y-axis subtracted with this number right here. So this is that position. And for the rotation, we do not want any rotation, so we can add here criterion.identity, because we do not want our bullet be rotated on any axis. Okay, we have there use of unassigned local variable bullet. So actually there will be new bullet right here, because we already have a bullet here in the variables. So we'll pass here new bullet, and I think we again got this error, but anyway we need to change this variable later on. So now we are moving on with these guys. So this will not be in the start method, excuse me, I made a mistake. This will be in shoot method, because there we not initialize variables. There we'll simply pass that we want to instantiate our bullet on this position. Anyway, we need now to create start method. So we'll simply pass here start, and then we are going to simply use this comment out line of code and pass it right here. And then we are going to call this shoot function in order to this shoot function can work. So we'll simply call our invoke repeating function. And in this function we are going to use our shoot method by hard coding. So we call this shoot method by hard coding instead of regular calling, if I can say like that, and rate for second parameter and the rate for third parameter right here. So when we point with our mouse on this invoke repeating, this invokes the method name in time seconds, then repeatedly every frame repeat rate seconds. So actually we'll call this shoot method after this rate amount of time, and then we will repeat that calling after this amount of time on the last argument right here. So we will repeat, actually, because our rate have the two variable value, we'll repeat every 2 seconds this function right here. We'll call every 2 seconds this shooting function right here, because this is invoke repeating function. And because, like in the case of our saw and death wall, our player also needs to have a collision between him and our, so I made a mistake here, between him and our actually turtle. So we'll go here in the saw and copy and paste this code for the detecting collision simply here, and saving this and go back to the Unity. And now, in order to this turtle script can work, we need definitely to create a bullet script for our bullet, because this turtle will simply instantiate our bullet. So we'll create this bullet script and open it up also in Studio. And also in this script we'll have a serialized field variable that will be private float and then speed. So this is going to be the speed of our bullet, which is going to be 10f by default, and is going to be that speed. Okay, in the start method, because we are going to destroy our bullet every 2 seconds after he be instantiated, we'll just do that. So we'll use our game object, destroy.game object, and then after 2 seconds we are going to destroy our bullet every time he being instantiated, because we do not want to hold our bullet in our scene when he pass our player. And yeah, that is that in the update method. So now when we go here in the death wall script, we see that our death wall is actually made that he go in the right side, because he follow our player. So we will copy and paste this. We'll go back to our bullet script, and we'll simply paste here this code right here. But now, instead here of passing a direction, we will remove this line of code right here, and now we will also remove this direction because we don't have this variable yet. But now transform.position will be subtract with the transform.right, because now we are moving in the left side, and our bullet will go in the left side towards our player. So our bullet will go move towards from the current position of the bullet. He will go in the left side, because transform.position when he is subtract with the transform.right, that means left side. And this will of course increase with the time.delta time with the speed. And yeah, that is that. And because our bullet will also have the collision with our player, he also can kill our player, we will simply go here and copy and paste this detecting collision function right here and detect the collision between our bullet and our player. Save this and go back to our turtle script. Now when we uncomment out this code right here, now I think we can easily instead here our game object pass here a bullet script, because now we have a bullet script, and this will be the reference for our bullet script. So now when we pass here, we'll also here change from our bullet to the bullet script. And yeah, everything is so far okay. So now when we go here in this instantiating, I don't know why we get there an error. So there is game object. So actually, yeah, there is no game object. There will be a bullet script. So no bullet variable, but bullet script like this. So again, silly me, problems with the spelling. And yeah, there will be new bullet, and we do not want to instantiate this new bullet. We want to instantiate just the bullet that we have passed here in the variables. And sorry about this, but this new bullet we use as a reference of this right here. So that was the problem here, guys. And in this invoke repeating, yeah, we get some error here. I don't know why there we get some error, but we'll save anyway all of this and go back finally to our Unity editor. Now I think everything is very cool and very fine, guys. Now we are ready to test, final time this out and see does our game works. And yeah, we have some error here, and that is we didn't actually pass here semicolon. I completely didn't see that, so sorry about this. Saving this one more time. But before that, we need all of these scripts to attach somewhere in order to these scripts can work. So we will go here in the resources, and for the bullet, when we open this prefab, so opening this prefab, for the bullet we are going to remove this missing script, and we are going to call our bullet script. So we'll go here, add component, searching for the bullet script, and that is that. Okay, for the canvas we do not have any scripts. For the character, yeah, we already have a character script attached on him, so we can one more time remove this missing script and attach our character script, because our character is actually a prefab. So yeah, there will be rigid body attached on him. For the death wall, the same way, we are going to remove missing script, attaching our death wall script that we have created. Speed again will be 10. For the panel, so simply removing missing script, and we do not have any scripts for this panel and this panel with 2, so with the hole, because these are game objects that will be spawned in our scene, and for that we do not have any scripts for that game object. So now we are going here in this so opening this prefab one more time. Missing script we want to remove, of course, and then attach our script that we have code for this so. And the same way for our turtle. So for the turtle we are going here in the add component, then turtle script, and yeah, so we see saying fail check console. So anyway, okay, this will be replacing prefab. Anyway, this is not something scary, so I hope that this is not something scary. We are going to again remove this missing script, and yeah, I think we attached this everywhere that we needed to attach this. So now we are going back here, going back in our scene. So now in the prefabs mode we are going, yeah, of course we are going to save this, so like this, and now we are completely ready to test this out for the final time, and we are going here and play our game. And now we are in gameplay, and actually our player is actually faster than our main camera, so we need to a little bit. So we are going here in the player, and we need to decrease a little bit this speed and to increase this jump force to be, for example, 9. So we'll again test this out. And now again our player is too fast for this. So now I don't know why our player is too fast for this, but I will try to fix this error. So now I will one more time try to decrease this, yeah, but we see that actually we have the default values here, and we have 2 scripts attached on these characters, so we need to remove one. So we will remove this first one, of course. So again here, remove component, revert apply to free, no, anything. Anyway, we do not want to revert this, and so on and so forth. We'll now try to play our game with just this one script attached on this. And now our player is too slow. But now guys, actually the problem here was for the 2 scripts. So when I go in here in the death wall, I will check does we have anywhere 2 scripts attached like for our player case. So now this will be very stupid from me if I did that. So now when we do not have anywhere, I think, 2 scripts like for our player we do. So anyway, I will now try to bring back these variables here, for example on the 5 or on the 6. Anyway, our camera will follow our player. So now test this out one more time, and yeah, now our camera smooth follow our player. So now we can play our game as much as we want, and we need to stay and yeah, wait for this. So I will try to pass this. So yeah, I pass this. I try to attract this player down here with our down arrow. Everything works, guys, but we see that this actually doesn't rotate on the axis, and we'll try to fix that in a second. But anyway, our game actually works, guys. Everything works that we have coded. So I'm very satisfied with this game. A little bit my FPS make problems here because my PC gets to lose a little bit FPS because while I recording and while I play the game in the same time, my screen recorder a little bit lose the FPS. But anyway, you see that everything works, and if you follow this tutorial you also saw that everything works. So guys, that was that for this game. I'm glad that I present to you this game. When I, for example, die here, so yeah, we see that we have a problems with this. So when we, for example, go down here and then so nothing happens here. So when I go here with this death wall, our death wall is put to be trigger. Yeah, everything here is very fine. Our character is not trigger. So now guys, I will try to find the problem and try to actually see does this death wall actually follow our player. So we'll see that in a second. Yeah, this death wall actually follow our player, but this death wall is too fast for our game. So we'll try to, yeah, we actually need to pass here for our death walls that these have the speed of 5. And now when we, for example, fall in this hole with our player, our death wall will stay for, will actually wait for our player and detect the collision, and our player will die like he died when we previous test this game. But now we saw that we have the problem with this saw. So when I go here in this saw, this is that problem. So I don't know why we get an error with this saw, but anyway, when we go here in panel with 2 saws, yeah, both of these saw have the, yeah, missing scripts. Yeah, this is the problem. So we need to click on these 2 saws and remove this missing script and attach our one and only saw script that we prepared for these saws. That was the problem, guys. So now panel with 1 saw, we will go in that panel. So saving this, saving all of this, go in that panel with 1 saw. What is the problem here? Do you want to save the change? Yeah, I want to save the change. And yeah, we see that we have some errors here, man. So no errors, man. No, please, no errors. So no make me errors now on the end of this game. So panel with 2 saw is the, you are trying to replace. No, I'm not trying to replace, I'm just trying to add the saw script on this saw game object. So I don't know where is the problem here, but now for now we'll ignore that. And when we go in panel with 2 saw, we see that we also have there a missing script. Yeah, that is that panel with 2 saw. We need to remove that missing script, and we'll try to, for this blue panel, yeah, we do not have any script. But now we will pass here on panels with 2 saw. Does we have the script for this? I think when we, yeah, we do not have a script for this panel with 2 saw. Anyway, let's now try to save this. So I will go back here, try to save this. And yeah, we successfully saved this panel with 2 saw, and I think that we solved the problem with these saws right here in the scene. So now, guys, when we for the final time test this out, I hope everything will be perfect. So now we will wait for our cute obstacles here, and yeah, now you see that our saw is rotating and our saw can kill our player, and that is, guys, so far awesome. So everything now works, we proved everything, we fixed all errors that we had in this game. So guys, that was that for this tutorial. I hope you like the game and you're satisfied with what you have learned in this game. I know that this a little bit gets too long, but anyway, if you want to learn some new tips and tricks and all of that in game development, you need to watch a long tutorials in order to you can become a successful game developer in your game development career. So guys, that was that for this game, and catch you guys in some next tutorial.